Hey there, amazing viewers. Are you ready for a story that will shock you, touch your heart, and make you believe in second chances? You absolutely won't want to miss a single word of this. Like this video right now. If you're excited for a tale of love, betrayal, and unexpected family. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories like this one. Let's dive in. The billionaire was about to marry his fiancée, a woman of impeccable connections and calculating charm, until he saw the banquet chef, his ex-girlfriend with 3 children by her side. What he did next left everyone speechless. "Marcus, are you all right?" asked Sophia Albright, adjusting her designer gown and following her fiancé's bewildered gaze. "You look strange." Marcus Sterling couldn't tear his eyes away from the woman who had just entered the Crystal Palace kitchen. After 15 years, Isabella Marshall was still the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. His heart seized when their eyes met for a fleeting second, before she vanished among the bustling catering staff. "Apologies, my love, just a bit overwhelmed by the party," he lied, loosening his tie. The ballroom was packed with London's elite. Tycoons, politicians, socialites, all celebrating his engagement to Senator Albright's daughter. A perfect union on paper, strategic for both families. But now, none of that seemed to matter. "Mr. Sterling," the event coordinator approached. "Would you mind reviewing the menu with the head chef? A few last-minute details." Marcus's stomach clenched. "Of course," he managed, walking towards the kitchen with hesitant steps. The clamor of preparations enveloped him, but his attention was fixed on the elegant figure commanding her team with military precision. Isabella wore her chef's whites impeccably, her dark hair pulled back in a perfect bun. Beside her, 3 young people worked diligently. "Chef Marshall," the coordinator called out. "Mr. Sterling wished to review the menu." Isabella turned slowly. Her hazel eyes met Marcus's piercing blue, and for a moment, the world stopped. 15 years vanished in an instant. "Mr. Sterling," she said, her voice controlled, though he detected a slight tremor. "It's an honor to have the opportunity to cook for your celebration." "The honor is mine, Chef Marshall," he replied, struggling to maintain his composure. "I've heard wonderful things about your work." The 2 teenagers working alongside Isabella observed them with keen curiosity. They were obviously twins, around 14 years old. The boy had light brown hair and blue eyes that were disturbingly familiar. The girl possessed Isabella's delicate features, but with the same intensity in her gaze. "Allow me to introduce my assistants," Isabella said, her voice barely audible. "Ethan and Chloe, my children." She then pointed to a smaller boy organizing utensils. "And Leo, also my son. A pleasure to meet you." Ethan extended his hand with confidence. "Mom says you run a tech company. I'm learning programming." The boy's hand was firm, his smile genuine. Marcus felt a strange connection, as if he were seeing a reflection of himself at that age. "Really? What languages are you studying?" "Python and JavaScript mainly. I love building apps." Chloe approached shyly. "I prefer cooking. Mom's teaching me French techniques." "Chloe has a natural talent," Isabella interjected, her maternal pride evident. "She's already creating her own recipes." Marcus studied the twins' faces. Something about their features gave him a disturbing sense of déjà vu. Ethan, especially. "Marcus?" Sophia appeared at the kitchen entrance, clearly annoyed. "I've been looking for you. The guests are asking for you." "Coming, darling," he apologized, but didn't move. Sophia assessed the scene with calculating eyes. She noticed the tension between Marcus and Isabella, the way he looked at the children. "Is everything in order with the menu?" she asked, with false sweetness. "Perfectly, madam," Isabella replied professionally. "Everything will be exquisite for the celebration." "Excellent. Marcus, let's go. Our guests await." Before leaving, Marcus turned to Isabella one last time. "If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask." Their eyes met again, and in that gaze were years of unanswered questions, of shared pain, of a love that had never fully extinguished. As they returned to the main ballroom, Sophia possessively clung to his arm. "Do you know that chef?" "Why do you ask?" "The way you were looking at her. And those children? Especially the older boy. He looks oddly like you." Marcus felt his blood run cold, but he maintained his composure. "Don't be ridiculous, Sophia. She's just the chef." But as he feigned attention to his guests, his mind worked feverishly. The calculations were simple and terrifying. 15 years since his breakup with Isabella. The twins appeared to be 14. In the kitchen, Isabella struggled to focus on her work as she felt Marcus's gaze burning into her. Ethan and Chloe noticed her nervousness. "Are you okay, Mom?" Chloe asked, worried. "Yes, my loves, just an important night. We need everything to be perfect." But nothing was okay. Seeing Marcus after so many years, seeing how he looked at Ethan, it was as if the past had returned for vengeance. Her phone vibrated. It was her mother. "Hello? Isabella, my dear, how are things there?" "Fine, Mom. Everything's under control." "And the children?" Ethan mentioned it was a very elegant event. "They're helping out. Ethan and Chloe are behaving wonderfully." Marcus, who was passing near the kitchen at that moment, stopped when he overheard fragments of the conversation. 14 years already. I can't believe how much the twins have grown. Ethan looks more like... Well, you know, I never thought I'd see him again." Isabella's phone slipped from her hands when she saw Marcus standing at the entrance, his face pale and his eyes wide. He had heard enough. 14 years. The twins. Ethan looks more like... The truth hit him like a lightning bolt. Those were his children. His children. Isabella picked up the phone with trembling hands. "Mom, I'll call you back." She straightened to face Marcus, but when she looked up, he was gone. Marcus didn't sleep all night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Ethan's face, his own blue eyes reflected in the boy. By 6 in the morning, he was dressed and in his car, driving through the empty city streets. Finding the Heart's Delight's diner wasn't difficult. It was in a middle-class neighborhood, on a quiet street filled with small shops. The place was modest but welcoming, with large windows that showed the warm, familiar interior. Isabella was inside, preparing dough for the day's bread. She looked different without her chef's uniform, more relaxed in jeans and a simple blouse. When she saw him through the glass, she froze. Marcus entered without knocking. The chime above the door announced his arrival. "Are they mine?" he asked directly, without greetings or pleasantries. Isabella set down the dough and wiped her hands on her apron. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me, Isabella. I heard you last night. 14 years. The twins. Ethan looks more like... Like whom, Isabella? Who does Ethan look like?" She looked at him with a mixture of defiance and pain. "After 15 years, you come here asking questions? They're my children!" he shouted, losing his composure. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Why for?" Isabella also raised her voice. "So your family could threaten them like they threatened me? So you could reject them like you rejected me? I never rejected you. My family forced me. Your family. Always your family." Isabella laughed bitterly. "Do you know what your lawyers told me when I found out I was pregnant? That if I ever sought you out or tried to contact you, they would destroy my family. That they would send my father to jail for invented debts. That they would take our house." Marcus felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. "You were pregnant when we broke up?" 6 weeks. I found out 2 days after you told me it was over, that your family would never accept a woman like me." Tears streamed down Isabella's cheeks, but her voice remained firm. "So I made a decision. My children weren't going to grow up rejected by a family who would see them as a mistake. They weren't going to live as the billionaire's bastards. Isabella, I worked 3 jobs while studying gastronomy at night. Ethan and Chloe came with me to classes when there was no one to leave them with. I built all this alone." She gestured around the diner. And when Leo's parents died 3 years ago, I adopted him too because that's what real family does. It takes care of each other. Marcus slowly approached. Where are they now? At school, like all normal children. I want to meet them. I want to be a part of their lives. And your engagement? Your perfect millionaire life? None of that matters. They're my children, Isabella. She studied him for a long moment. How do I know you won't disappear again when your family finds out? Because I'm not the same man I was 15 years ago. Isabella sat down at one of the diner's tables. She looked tired, as if she'd been carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders for too long. Ethan wants to study systems engineering. He's brilliant, just like you were. Chloe dreams of being a chef, but she also loves chemistry. Leo is our ray of sunshine. He always finds a way to make us laugh when things get tough. Do they know their father is a millionaire who abandoned them before they were born? No. I told them their dad died in an accident when they were babies. The revelation hit him like a slap. You told them I was dead? It was easier than explaining the truth, that their father chose his money and his family over them. At that moment, the diner door opened, and an elegant woman in dark glasses entered. Sophia had followed Marcus. So here you were, she said, her voice cold. We need to talk, darling. Isabella stood up immediately. I think it would be best if you left. On the contrary, Sophia took off her glasses and evaluated the place with disdain. I think we all need to clarify a few things. She addressed Isabella directly. How much do you want? Excuse me? For disappearing from our lives. For not ruining the wedding. How much? Isabella looked at Marcus with contempt. I see you're still the same coward as always. You send your woman to do your dirty work. I didn't send her. 5 million pounds. Sophia interrupted. For you to take your children far from here and never bother Marcus again. The silence that followed was deafening. Isabella slowly approached Sophia until they were face to face. Madam, you can have all the money in the world, but there are things you can't buy. Dignity is one of them. So take your 5 million and leave my diner. Sophia smiled cruelly. You don't know who you're dealing with. My family has power in this country, and I have something you'll never have. Isabella opened the door. The respect of my children and the satisfaction of having earned every penny I have. After Sophia left, furious and threatening, Marcus was left alone with Isabella. This isn't over, she said, clearing dishes from the table. Your fiancée will do everything in her power to destroy me. I'll protect you. I'll protect all of you. Isabella stopped and looked at him sadly. How did you protect me 15 years ago? He had no answer for that. But when he saw a photo on the diner wall, Isabella with Ethan, Chloe, and Leo on opening day, all smiling proudly, he knew he couldn't lose this second chance. Give me a chance to get to know them, he pleaded. Just that. A chance to be the father I should have been. Isabella sighed, seeing the determination in his eyes. They come here after school. If you want to meet your children, you'd better be sure of what you want. Because if you hurt them, if you abandon them again, there won't be a third chance. Marcus nodded, feeling for the first time in years that he had a real purpose in life. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus became a regular visitor to the diner. He arrived in the afternoons when Ethan, Chloe, and Leo returned from school and stayed until closing. At first, the children looked at him with curiosity and some shyness. But little by little, especially Ethan, they began to open up to him. You really have a tech company? Ethan asked one afternoon while helping to clean tables. I have several, Marcus replied, sitting beside him. But my favorite is the one that develops educational apps. Ethan's eyes lit up. That's cool. I made an app for my mom to manage the diner's inventory better. Really? Will you show it to me? Isabella watched from the kitchen as Ethan proudly showed his project to Marcus. The way her son lit up, how he gesticulated just like his father when talking about technology, was both unsettling and beautiful. Chloe was more reserved. But when she discovered that Marcus knew about wines and pairings from his many business dinners, She began to ask him questions about international culinary techniques. "Mom says I'm going to study in Paris someday," Chloe told him while preparing a vinaigrette. "I want to learn from the best chefs in the world." "Paris is beautiful," Marcus said. "I lived there for 6 months when we opened the European office. The Buccaria markets are incredible for fresh ingredients." "Would you tell me more about Paris?" she asked shyly. Leo, for his part, had immediately taken to Marcus. At 8 years old, he didn't have the emotional barriers of his older siblings. "Why don't you have kids?" he asked one day, with a child's brutal honesty. Marcus felt a lump in his throat. "Who says I don't?" "Well, you never bring them. And my mom says families should be together." Isabella quickly intervened. "Leo, go do your homework." But the damage was done. Marcus excused himself and went outside for some air. Isabella followed him to the diner's small back patio. "I'm sorry. He shouldn't have asked that." "No, it's okay. You're right. Families should be together." He looked at her directly. "Why haven't you told them the truth?" "Because I don't know if you're going to stay." Isabella crossed her arms. "They already lost Leo's parents. I don't want them to go through another abandonment." At that moment, Ethan appeared at the door. "Is everything okay?" "Yes, my love," Isabella replied. "We were just talking about work." Ethan approached Marcus. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why do you come to the diner so much? It's not that I mind. I like you a lot. But Mom has never had a friend like you." Marcus looked at Isabella, silently asking for permission. She shook her head, almost imperceptibly. "I like coming here. It's a special place. Your mom cooks incredibly. And you remind me that there are more important things than work." Ethan smiled. "Mom always says that. That family is the most important." That night, after their children went home with Isabella, Marcus stayed at the diner, helping to close up. It was something he had started doing naturally, as if it were part of the family routine. "Ethan adores you," Isabella commented, while counting the till. "He won't stop talking about you at home. He's an amazing kid. All 3 of them are." "Yes, they are." Isabella paused. "Marcus, what's happening with your engagement? Sophia hasn't been back here, but she's investigating you. Investigating us, it doesn't matter anymore." "What do you mean it doesn't matter? You're getting married to her." Marcus stopped wiping the table and looked at her intently. "Would you marry someone after finding the family you always wanted?" Isabella's heart raced, but she maintained her composure. "Don't say things you don't mean." "How do you know what I mean?" "Because I know you, Marcus. You've always known how to say what people want to hear." He slowly approached her. "Then listen to this. These have been the best days of my life in 15 years. Seeing Ethan program reminds me why I fell in love with technology. Listening to Chloe talk about her dreams makes me want to be a better person. And Leo makes me want to protect something pure in this world." Isabella felt tears in her eyes, but held them back. "And when your family finds out about us, what's going to happen?" "I don't know, but I know I can't keep living a lie." Before she could answer, her phone rang. It was Ethan. "Mom, is Marcus still there?" "Yes, my love. Why?" "I was just thinking. Do you think he'd like to come to dinner at our place tomorrow? I made a new program, and I want to show him." Isabella looked at Marcus, who had overheard the conversation. "Tell him yes," he whispered. "Okay, Ethan, invite him yourself." Ethan took the phone from his mother. "Marcus, do you want to come to dinner tomorrow? Chloe's going to cook her famous chicken mole." "I'd love to," Marcus replied, feeling a warmth he hadn't experienced in years. When they hung up, Isabella looked at him with a mixture of hope and fear. "Tomorrow will be the first time you come to our home. Are you sure about this?" "More sure than anything in my life." But neither of them knew that at that moment, from a car parked across the street, someone was photographing them through the diner window. Sophia had hired a private investigator, and the evidence was piling up. The storm was about to begin, but for that night, Marcus allowed himself to imagine what it would be like to be part of a real family, where love wasn't measured in bank accounts, but in shared laughter and home-cooked meals. The dinner the next day was going to change everything, but they didn't know it yet. The dinner at Isabella's home had been perfect. A small 3-bedroom apartment filled with family photos and children's drawings on the refrigerator. Marcus felt more at home there than in his luxurious penthouse. Ethan had proudly shown him his new app for organizing study schedules. Chloe had prepared a mole that rivaled the best restaurants in the city, and Leo had insisted Marcus help him with a 1,000-piece puzzle. For the first time in years, Marcus had experienced what it meant to be part of a real family. But now, 2 days later, he sat in his office looking at the photographs a private investigator had laid on his desk. He leaving Isabella's diner, he carrying Leo on his shoulders in the park, he and Isabella laughing together as they closed the diner. "How long did you plan to keep this a secret?" Marcus looked up. Sophia stood in his office doorway, impeccably dressed, and with a chilling smile. "Sophia, can we talk about this?" "Talk?" She closed the door and slowly approached. "About how my fiancé is playing house with his ex-girlfriend and her bastards?" "Don't call them that." "Why not? That's what they are, aren't they?" She placed the photos on the desk. "Let me guess. They're yours, aren't they? The twins. They have the same arrogant look as you." Marcus stood up. "This is over, Sophia. The engagement, the wedding, everything." She laughed bitterly. "Do you really think it's going to be that easy? My family has already spent a fortune on this wedding. Our families have already signed business agreements based on our union. I'll return every penny spent. It's not about money, dear. It's about reputation, power." Sophia moved closer. "If you cancel this wedding publicly, I'll make sure to sink your dear chef and her children." "What do you mean?" "My father has contacts in immigration, social services, the media. I can have her diner shut down for imaginary health violations. I can have her finances investigated, question her ability to have custody of those children." Marcus's blood ran cold. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me." Her eyes gleamed with malice. Unless what? Unless you end all this now. That you never see that woman or those children again. That we go ahead with the wedding as if nothing happened." At that moment, the office door opened without warning. Edward Reed, his business partner and best friend since university, entered with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Sorry to interrupt, but we need to talk about the merger contracts." Marcus frowned. "What contracts? We don't have any merger scheduled." Edward and Sophia exchanged a look that didn't go unnoticed. "The contracts you signed last week," Edward said slowly. "Don't you remember?" "I didn't sign anything." "Of course you did." Sophia pulled some documents from her bag. "Here they are, with your signature. Stock transfers, investment agreements." Marcus took the papers and quickly reviewed them. His signature was there, but he had never seen those documents. "These are fake." "Fake?" Edward approached. "Come on, Marcus. I know you've been distracted lately, but..." Then, Marcus understood everything. The way Edward had insisted on witnessing his signatures lately. The times Sophia had been in his office unannounced. The documents that supposedly needed his urgent authorization. "You two," he looked at them in disbelief. "Since when?" Sophia sighed dramatically. "Does it really matter? What matters is that we now have control over 40% of your companies. And if you don't cooperate," Edward added, "we can make it very difficult for you to maintain control of the rest." "Not only that," Sophia smiled cruelly. "I also have this." She pulled out her phone and showed them a photograph. It was herself, obviously pregnant with a date from 2 weeks ago. "You're pregnant?" Marcus asked, confused. "I was," she replied. "But the baby wasn't yours." Edward placed a protective hand on Sophia's shoulder. "It was mine. Sophia lost the baby last week, but we have all the medical documentation proving the pregnancy." "And what does that have to do with me?" "Very simple," Sophia said. "If you don't go through with the wedding, we'll tell everyone that you abandoned me while I was pregnant, that you were cheating on me with that chef while I was expecting your child, The media will love the story. Marcus sank heavily into his chair. All of this? The relationship, the engagement, everything was a lie? Not entirely, Sophia said with false sweetness. I did plan to marry you. The money and connections would have been enough. But then you showed up with your romantic feelings and your ideas of true love. Since when, you two? For a year now, Edward admitted. Sophia came to me when she realized you were never going to love her the way she wanted. And I always thought you had too much of everything. Silence filled the office. Marcus processed the betrayal, the manipulation, years of lies. What exactly do you want? For you to go through with the wedding, Sophia said. For you to keep up appearances for a year or two. Then, we can divorce discreetly and split the assets. And if I refuse, your reputation is destroyed. Your company falters. And that chef and her children, well, let's just say life is going to get very difficult for them. Marcus looked at them for a long moment. Then he picked up his phone and dialed a number. What are you doing? Edward asked nervously. Calling my lawyer, Marcus said. And then a forensic accountant. And then a private investigator. Marcus! It's over, he interrupted, standing up. I don't know what you two are going to do, but I'm not going to keep living this lie. Sophia and Edward exchanged panicked glances. If you do this, Sophia threatened, I'll destroy Isabella Marshall and her children. I promise you. Marcus looked at her with a coldness she had never seen before. Try it. But I assure you, if you touch my family, you're going to find out what I'm capable of when I truly fight for something I love. When they left his office, Marcus was left alone, surrounded by the shattered pieces of his former life. But for the first time in years, he felt free. Now he had to protect Isabella and the children. The war had begun. Isabella knew something was wrong the moment Marcus entered the diner. His face was pale, and he had deep circles under his eyes, as if he hadn't slept in days. What happened? She asked immediately, stopping her dough preparation. Marcus looked around. Ethan was at a table doing homework. Chloe was helping in the kitchen, and Leo was playing with blocks in a corner. We need to talk. Alone? Isabella felt a knot in her stomach. Kids, can you go to the back patio for a moment? Take the board games with you. When they were alone, Marcus told her everything. Sophia and Edward's betrayal, the threats, the forged documents. Isabella listened in silence, her face hardening with each word. So it was true, she finally said. You haven't changed at all. What are you talking about? You're still the same man who puts his world of money and power above everything else. How long did you plan to keep this a secret? Isabella, you don't understand. I broke up with Sophia. I canceled the wedding. And the children. Do you think they won't get hurt when this explodes in the media? When everyone finds out they're the millionaire's secret children? Marcus approached her. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to protect you, like you protected me 15 years ago. Before he could answer, Isabella's phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. Hello, Mrs. Isabella Marshall. Yes. Who is this? This is the Department of Social Services. We've received an anonymous report about the conditions in which you live with the minors in your care. We need to schedule an inspection visit. Isabella felt the floor move beneath her feet. A report? What kind? Alleged child abandonment and child labor exploitation. The children working in the diner outside school hours. That's ridiculous. My children only help me occasionally. Never. The visit is scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. Good day. Isabella hung up with trembling hands. Marcus had overheard part of the conversation. It started, she whispered. They've begun to carry out their threats. At that moment, Ethan returned from the patio. Mom, there are some people outside taking pictures of the diner. Are they journalists? Isabella looked out the window. Indeed, there were two men with cameras across the street. Enough, she said, making a decision she had been postponing. Kids, come here. Ethan, Chloe, and Leo approached, noticing the tension in the air. What's wrong, Mom? Chloe asked, worried. Isabella took a deep breath and looked at Marcus. He nodded, understanding what she was about to do. "There's something you need to know. Something I should have told you a long time ago." She took Ethan's and Chloe's hands. "Marcus isn't just a friend. He is your dad." The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan was the first to react. "What?" He pulled his hand away from his mother's. "Our dad? The one who died in the accident?" "He didn't die, Ethan. I lied to you." Chloe turned pale. "Why? Why did you lie to us?" "Because it was easier than explaining that he had another life, another family." "Liar!" Ethan screamed, tears in his eyes. "My whole life you lied to me." He turned to Marcus furiously. "And you? Why didn't you come before? Why did you abandon us?" "Ethan, let me explain." "No!" The boy ran towards the door. "I don't want to hear any more lies." Chloe followed him, also crying. "I hate you both!" Only Leo remained, confused but calm. "Is Marcus Ethan and Chloe's dad?" "Yes, my love." "And is he going to be my dad too?" Isabella knelt to his height, tears streaming down her face. "If you want him to, yes." Leo hugged Isabella tightly. "I do want him to. Marcus is a good person." Marcus approached and placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "And you're going to be my son, Leo, in every way that matters." But the joy of the moment was interrupted when Isabella saw more photographers arriving. "It's over," she said, standing up. "We're going to be a spectacle now. The children will be chased, pointed at in school." "Isabella." "No, Marcus. This is exactly what I was afraid of." She began collecting things from the kitchen. "I can't expose my children to this." "What are you doing?" "What I should have done from the beginning. We're leaving." "Where?" "To Birmingham. With my sister. We can start fresh there, away from all this circus." Marcus took her arm. "Don't run again." "I'm not running. I'm protecting my children." She pulled away. "Like you never knew how to do. This time it will be different. I will fight for you." Isabella looked at him with a mixture of pain and despair. "With what money? With what power? You just told me your partner and ex-fiancé stole half your company. I have enough to pay lawyers while they destroy my reputation and try to take my children from me. No, Marcus, I'm not going to risk the only thing that truly matters." At that moment, Ethan returned, calmer but with red eyes. "Mom, there are more people outside, and I heard some men asking the neighbor about us." Isabella made her final decision. "Go pack, just the essentials. We're leaving tonight." "Forever?" Leo asked. "I don't know, my love, but for now, yeah." Marcus stood in the middle of the diner, watching the family he had just found crumble again before his eyes. "Isabella, give me a week. Just 1 week to fix this." She stopped at the kitchen door. "You had 15 years, Marcus. The children and I can't wait any longer." When they went upstairs to pack, Marcus was left alone. He looked around the diner, filled with memories of the past few weeks. Leo's drawings pasted on the wall, the corner where Ethan had programmed, the table where Chloe had taught him to distinguish spices. Everything was fading again, but this time he wasn't going to stand idly by. He picked up his phone and started making calls. To his lawyers, to private investigators, to media contacts. If Sophia and Edward wanted a war, they were going to get one. But when he went upstairs to say goodbye, he found they were already gone. Only a note remained on the kitchen table. "Marcus, take care of the diner until we decide what to do with it. The children need time to understand all this. Please, don't look for us." Isabella. For the second time in his life, he had lost the woman he loved and his children. But this time, not because of his family's pressure, but because of his own decisions. The difference was that now he knew exactly what was worth fighting for. 6 months later, Isabella wiped her hands on her apron as she checked the evening's reservations. Her new restaurant in Birmingham, also called Heart's Delight's Diner, had been more successful than she expected. The home-cooked food and family atmosphere had quickly won over the locals. "Mom, I finished my homework," Chloe announced, putting her books in her backpack. Can I help you with tonight's special dinner? Of course, my love. And Ethan? He's in his room. Programming again, Isabella sighed. Ethan had had more trouble adjusting to the change. Although he wasn't as angry as in the first few months, he was still reserved when they talked about his father. Chloe had processed the revelations better, but sometimes Isabella caught her looking out the window with a melancholic expression. Leo, on the other hand, had blossomed in Birmingham. He had new friends at school and had started playing football on a local team. Mom? Leo appeared in the kitchen in his football uniform. Can I invite my friends over for dinner after practice? Of course, but let their moms know. Isabella had managed to stabilize their lives again, but she couldn't deny that something was missing. Nights were the hardest when she closed the diner and was left alone with her thoughts. Marcus appeared in her dreams frequently, and during the day she surprised herself waiting to see him walk through the door, as he used to do in London. Mommy? Leo approached as she prepared vegetables. Do you think Marcus is looking for us? It was the question everyone avoided asking, but it constantly floated in the air. I don't know, my love. Why do you ask? Because last night I dreamed about him. He was teaching me how to use his computer again. Isabella knelt to Leo's height. Do you miss him? Yes, he was fun. And I liked how you looked when he was here. How did I look? Happy. Like when you make your favorite dish, or when you see us all laughing together. Before Isabella could answer, Ethan appeared in the kitchen with his laptop. Mom, can you check something? He had become more communicative in recent weeks, especially when it came to his tech projects. What is it? I've been researching about Dad, his company, what happened after we left. Isabella felt a knot in her stomach. Ethan, don't be upset. I just wanted to understand. Look at this. Ethan showed her several online newspaper articles. The front pages showed the scandal. Millionaire calls off lavish wedding. Businessman sues former partners for fraud. The fall of a tech empire. But there were more recent articles Isabella hadn't seen. Marcus had sold his main company and used the money to create an educational foundation. He had opened technology centers in low-income communities across the UK. See this one? Ethan pointed to a recent article. He opened a programming center here in Birmingham 3 months ago. It's only 20 minutes from here. Isabella's heart raced. He's here in Birmingham? According to this, yes. And look at this. Ethan changed the page. He won the lawsuit against that Mrs. Albright and her partner. He sued them for fraud and forgery. They're in jail. Chloe also approached, curious about the conversation. What's happening? Ethan quickly explained his discoveries. Chloe reviewed the articles carefully. It says he donates almost all his money to educational programs. Why would he do that? Maybe because he really changed, Isabella murmured, more to herself than to her children. At that moment, Leo, who had been looking at the photos on the laptop, pointed to the screen excitedly. Look, that's the man who sometimes comes to the park. Isabella quickly approached. In one of the article photos, Marcus appeared inaugurating the technology center. He looked different, thinner, less formal, with a genuine smile as he taught a group of children. What man, Leo? When I go to play football on Saturdays, sometimes there's a man who watches the practices from afar. I thought he was a dad of one of the team's kids, but it's him. It's Marcus. Isabella felt the world move beneath her feet. Marcus had been in Birmingham for months, near them, but without approaching. Are you sure it's him? Yes. He even greeted me once when my ball rolled near where he was sitting. Ethan slowly closed the laptop. Why hasn't he come to look for us, if he's here? Isabella had no answer for that. Respect for her decision to stay away? Fear of rejection? Or had he truly found a new life without them? Mom, Chloe said softly, do you think we could, I don't know, go see him? Just to talk? I don't know if that's a good idea. Please, Ethan insisted. I just want to ask him some things, like why he left all that money world, and why he's here but hasn't come to see us. Isabella looked at the hopeful faces of her children. For 6 months, she had tried to protect them from pain. But perhaps she had also denied them the possibility of healing. "Okay," she finally said, "but we all go together. And if he doesn't want to see us, we respect that and leave." Agreed? The 3 children nodded excitedly. "When?" Leo asked. Isabella looked at the clock. It was 4 in the afternoon on a Saturday. "Now let's go now, before I lose my nerve." As they prepared to leave, Isabella wondered if she was making the right decision. They had built a stable life in Birmingham, without complications, without pain. But seeing the hope in her children's eyes, she realized that perhaps it was time to take a risk again. Perhaps it was time to discover if Marcus had truly changed, or if he was just pretending to be a different person. In 20 minutes, they would have their answers. The TA Codes of Hope Community Technology Center was located in a humble area of Birmingham, very different from the elegant corporate buildings Isabella remembered from Marcus's former life. It was a modest building, painted in bright colors, with a handmade sign that read, "Here, everyone can learn." Isabella parked the car, and the 4 of them sat for a moment, observing the place through the windows. "Are you sure you want to do this, Mom?" Chloe asked, noticing her mother's nervousness. "I'm not sure of anything," Isabella admitted. "But you have the right to know who your dad really is now." Through the center's windows, they could see Marcus sitting on the floor, surrounded by children between 8 and 12 years old. He wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, nothing like the elegant suits he used to wear. He was helping a child connect wires to a computer made from recycled parts. "He looks different," Ethan murmured. "He looks happy," Leo added with his usual simplicity. Isabella took a deep breath. "Okay, let's go." When they entered the center, the sound of laughter and conversations enveloped them. It was a warm environment, full of computers assembled from donated parts, motivational posters made by the children, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Marcus didn't see them immediately. He was focused on explaining to a little girl how a basic circuit worked. "And when you connect this wire here, the current can flow and light up the LED, see? It's like giving electricity a path to get where it needs to go." The girl smiled excitedly when the small light came on. "It worked! I'm a scientist." "You're much more than that," Marcus told her with a genuine smile. "You're an inventor." It was then that he looked up and saw them. Time stopped completely. The surprised expression on his face slowly transformed into something Isabella couldn't decipher. Joy, fear, hope, all mixed together. "Ethan, Chloe, Leo." He slowly stood up. "Isabella." The children stood still, as if they didn't know what to do with this moment they had anticipated for weeks. "Marcus." It was Leo who broke the silence, running towards him. "I knew it was you from the park." Marcus knelt to receive Leo's hug, tears in his eyes. "Hello, champ. How's Birmingham's most talented footballer? I scored 3 goals last week. Why didn't you come see me play if you were there?" The direct question from Leo made everyone tense. Marcus looked at Isabella over the boy's head. "Why?" "Because I wanted to be sure it was the right thing to do. Your mom said you needed time." Ethan cautiously approached. "Is what we read true? That you sold your company, and that Mrs. Albright is in jail?" "It's true. You guys investigated me?" "Ethan is very good at investigating," Chloe also said, approaching. "He found all the articles about what happened after we left." Marcus straightened up, keeping Leo close. "And what do you think of what you read?" "That maybe we were wrong to judge you so quickly," Ethan admitted. "But also that we don't understand why you're here and hadn't come to look for us." Isabella finally spoke. "Could we talk in private?" Marcus asked one of his volunteers to take over the workshop and led them to a small office at the back of the center. It was simple, but functional, with children's drawings on the walls and an old coffee maker in a corner. "How long have you been here?" Isabella asked. 4 months. We opened the center 3 months ago." "And why didn't you?" "Because I respected your decision," he interrupted her. You said you needed time and space. I didn't want to pressure you, especially after all the harm I had already caused. Chloe spoke shyly. But you saw us in the park. Marcus smiled sadly. I just wanted to make sure you were okay, to see that Leo was happy, that you were adapting. I never planned to approach. Then why did you come to Birmingham? Ethan asked, with the directness he had inherited from his father. Because after you left, I realized that my whole life had been a lie. Money, power, connections. None of that really mattered to me. All I wanted was to be the man you deserved as a father. He sat on the edge of the desk, looking at his children. So I sold everything. I paid the lawsuits and decided to start over. Do something that was truly worthwhile. And is this worthwhile? Isabella asked, gesturing around. More than I imagined. These children have taught me more about real life in 4 months than I learned in 35 years. Leo had been quiet, but suddenly spoke. Are you going to leave again? The question dropped like a bomb in the small office. Marcus knelt in front of Leo. No, if you don't want me to leave. I don't want you to, Leo said immediately. Ethan and Chloe exchanged glances. We need time to think about it, Ethan finally said, to understand all this. Of course, Isabella had been observing the entire interaction in silence. This Marcus was different, not just in his clothes or where he worked, but in something deeper. The way he spoke, how he looked at the children, his patience. What do you propose? She asked him. That you give me a chance to prove to you that I can be the father I should have been from the beginning, without pressure, without grand promises. Just to be present. Chloe approached and suddenly hugged him, taking everyone by surprise. I missed you, she whispered against his shoulder. Ethan took a little longer, but finally also approached. I missed you too, but if you hurt us again, I won't, Marcus promised. This time you'll have to kick me out for me to leave. Over the next few weeks, they slowly began to rebuild their family relationship. Marcus visited the diner after work. He helped with the children's homework, and little by little, he integrated into their daily routine. Saturdays became their special day. He took Ethan to explore new programming projects. He cooked with Chloe, experimenting with international recipes. And he played football with Leo in the park. Isabella watched as her children flourished with their father's constant presence. Ethan had started helping at the technology center, teaching younger children. Chloe had started planning special menus to raise funds for the center, and Leo had appointed Marcus as his personal football coach. One Sunday afternoon, after closing the diner, the 5 of them were sitting at the small family table, sharing a dinner they had prepared together. You know what? Marcus said, looking around the table. This is the first time in my life that I feel truly rich. But you don't have money anymore? Leo asked, confused. I have something much better, he replied, taking Isabella's hand for the first time in months. I have a family. Isabella felt tears in her eyes, but they were tears of happiness. Does this mean you're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend again? Chloe asked with a mischievous smile. Marcus looked at Isabella with a silent question in his eyes. It means we're going to see what happens, she replied. Step by step, day by day. 6 months later, on a rainy December afternoon, Marcus appeared at the diner with something hidden behind his back. What do you have there? Isabella asked, suspicious. Something I wanted to show you all. He pulled out some documents and placed them on the table where the 4 of them were sitting. It's the deed to a plot of land here, on the outskirts of Birmingham. It's perfect for building a house if you want. Isabella took the papers with trembling hands. Marcus, it's not just for us. It also has space to expand the technology center and maybe add a cooking school. Ethan could have his own computer lab. Chloe, her professional kitchen. And Leo, well, Leo could have the biggest yard in all of Birmingham to play football. The children immediately became excited, but Isabella needed to be sure. Is this a proposal? Is this a promise? This is a promise, Marcus said, taking her hands. A promise that I want to build something real with you. Not out of obligation, not out of guilt, but because when I'm with you, I'm the best version of myself. Isabella looked at the hopeful faces of her children, then the sincere eyes of the man she had learned to love twice. Okay, she whispered. Let's build something together. The kiss that followed was interrupted by the children's shouts of joy and the applause of the diner customers, who had been discreetly watching. 3 months later, in a small but perfect ceremony in the diner's backyard, Isabella Marshall married Marcus Sterling. Ethan walked his mother down the improvised aisle. Chloe was the maid of honor in a dress she had chosen herself, and Leo carried the rings with the seriousness of someone who understood the importance of the moment. The celebration was exactly what Isabella had always dreamed of. Simple, authentic, surrounded by the people who truly loved them. The children from the technology center had made the decorations. The diner's neighbors had brought dishes to share. And the music was provided by a local band that played for free, because true love deserves to be celebrated. When it came time for the vows, Marcus didn't speak only to Isabella. Isabella, I promise to love and respect you every day of my life. I promise to be the partner you deserve and the father our children need. Ethan, Chloe, Leo, I promise you will never again doubt my love or my commitment to this family. Isabella, with tears of happiness streaming down her cheeks, replied, Marcus, I promise to give you the opportunity to be the man you want to be. I promise to build the home we always dreamed of with you, and I promise that this time, when the storms come, we will face them together. The rest of the night blurred into a mixture of laughter, dancing, and hugs. When everyone finally left and the family was left alone, cleaning up, Marcus stopped to observe the scene. Isabella putting away the dinner plates, Ethan helping to fold the chairs, Chloe organizing the gifts, and Leo asleep in a chair with a smile on his face. It was perfect in its imperfection, real in its simplicity. He had finally found the home he had always been looking for, and this time he knew exactly how to protect it. 2 years after the wedding, the aroma of cinnamon and chocolate wafted throughout the kitchen of Heart's Delight's diner. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon, and the Sterling Marshall family worked in perfect harmony, preparing the week's special menu. Isabella, now with slightly shorter hair and some gray strands she refused to cover because Marcus said they gave her wisdom, supervised as Chloe, now 16, perfected her new creation. Mole tamales, with a French twist she had learned in a summer course. Mommy, do you think these are ready? Chloe asked, carefully lifting the lid of the steamer. Let me try. Isabella took a small bite, and her eyes lit up. Perfect. The Lyon Culinary School will be proud to have you next year. Chloe smiled radiantly. She had been accepted into one of France's best culinary schools, and while pride filled her, she also felt nostalgic about leaving her family. Are you sure you won't miss me too much? We'll miss you every day, Marcus interjected, entering the kitchen with Leo. But we also know you're going to come back an incredible chef. Leo, now 10 years old, and with a football perpetually under his arm, approached to hug his sister. When you come back, you'll cook for my whole team, right? Of course, champ. I'll invent a special recipe to celebrate when you win the state championship. Ethan appeared from the main dining area, where he had been installing a new sound system he had programmed himself. At 18, he had grown so much he surpassed Marcus in height, but he retained the same intensity in his gaze when talking about technology. Dad, the system is ready. Now customers can place orders from their tables using the tablets I programmed. Really? Show me. Marcus enthusiastically followed him into the dining area. Isabella watched her family scatter throughout the diner, each in their element, and she felt a deep peace she had never experienced before. The place had become much more than a business. It was the heart of their community. The walls were covered with photographs. Ethan's high school graduation with honors, Chloe winning her first local cooking competition, Leo lifting a football trophy, and dozens of images of the students from the technology center Marcus had established next to the diner. "What are you thinking about?" Marcus had returned silently and hugged her from behind. "That 3 years ago, I couldn't imagine we could be so happy. Only 3 years? I'd say 20 years ago I didn't know this happiness was possible." Isabella leaned back against his chest, feeling the solidity of his presence. Marcus had kept every one of his promises. He had been present at every school play, every football game, every culinary experiment of Chloe's, and every programming project of Ethan's. But more importantly, he had been there in the difficult moments. When Ethan had problems with classmates who mocked him for being the millionaire's son, when Chloe doubted her culinary skills after a failure in a competition, and when Leo missed his biological parents on special dates. "Do you know what day tomorrow is?" Isabella asked. "The anniversary of when we reunited at the Crystal Palace. It's been exactly 3 years, and they've been the best 3 years of my life." Marcus turned her around to look at him. "Well, technically the best have been these last 2 years as your husband, but those first few months counted too." Isabella laughed. "Even when Ethan wouldn't talk to you and Chloe thought you were a fraud? Especially then, because it showed me that you weren't a family that was easily impressed. I had to earn your love for real." At that moment, the sound of laughter came from the backyard. Through the window, they could see Ethan teaching basic programming to a group of neighborhood children, while Chloe explained how to make cookies. Leo led an improvised football game with some of the younger students. "Look at that," Marcus pointed. "Without us realizing it, we raised 3 teachers." "You raised them too." Isabella put her hand on his. "Ethan has your patience for explaining complicated things. Chloe has your determination when she sets her mind to something. Leo has your ability to make people feel special. Leo has your generous heart. Chloe has your creativity. Ethan has your strength." They stood in silence for a moment, watching their children build community in the same natural way they had rebuilt their family. "Do you ever regret it?" Isabella asked. "Leaving everything behind? Living so differently from how you lived before?" Marcus looked at her with genuine surprise. "Are you asking if I miss having more money than I could spend? Employees who feared me instead of respecting me, and an empty life full of things that didn't matter? When you put it that way, it sounds silly. Isabella, before, I had everything money could buy, but I was completely alone. Now I have a family that loves me, a job that matters, and a community we've helped create together. If I had to choose again, I would make the same decision 1,000 times." Chloe approached from the patio, interrupting the intimate moment. "Mom, Dad, the kids want to know if they can stay for dinner. Their moms already said yes." "Of course," Isabella replied. "How many are we?" "About 15, Chloe smiled. "I know what I'm going to cook. My famous chicken and rice that everyone loves." As Chloe began to take out ingredients, Isabella and Marcus exchanged a knowing look. Their family dinners had naturally evolved to include half the neighborhood, and neither of them would have wanted it any other way. Ethan ran in excitedly. "Dad, Anna got her program to work. She can now make the computer draw geometric shapes." "How amazing. Did you tell her that means she's ready to learn about animations?" "Yes, but she says she wants to finish the program to help her mom with her store's accounting first." Marcus smiled proudly. "That girl is going to go far." Leo burst into the kitchen, sweaty but happy. "Mom, can we make lemonade for everyone? We're thirsty after the game." "Of course, my love. Who won?" "We tied, but it was fun. Pablo says his brother who studies at university wants to meet you, Dad. He wants to study programming, too. Tell him to come whenever he wants. There's always room for one more student." As the house filled with the voices and laughter of the neighborhood children, Isabella made lemonade with Leo's help. Marcus helped Chloe with dinner while directing the conversation toward the day's programming lessons. Ethan organized a kind of impromptu exhibition where each child showed what they had learned. When they finally all sat down for dinner at improvised tables made with planks and easels, because the family table wasn't big enough for 15 people, Isabella observed the scene with astonishment. 3 years ago, she was a single mother struggling to make ends meet, fiercely protecting her children from a world that didn't understand them. Marcus was an empty millionaire, engaged to a woman he didn't love, living a life that wasn't his. Now they were the center of an extended family that included not only their 3 children, but dozens of neighborhood children who considered them teachers, mentors, and second parents. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan asked, noticing her contemplative expression. That sometimes life gives you exactly what you need, not what you thought you wanted. Marcus raised his glass of lemonade. "To second chances." Chloe raised hers. "To the families you choose." Ethan followed. "To finding where you belong." Leo, not wanting to be left out, solemnly raised his glass. "To the best dad in the world and the best mom in the universe." The neighborhood children, not fully understanding the moment but sensing its importance, also raised their glasses, shouting, "Cheers!" in unison, as laughter filled the diner, and the family they had built together enjoyed another perfectly imperfect dinner. Isabella and Marcus exchanged a look that said everything without words. They had found their happy ending, not in a castle or a mansion, but in a modest diner full of love, laughter, and the flavors of true happiness. And when that night, after everyone went home and the dishes were washed, they were left alone in the kitchen, sharing the last bites of the dessert Chloe had prepared, they knew they had achieved something no amount of money could buy. A life full of purpose, unconditional love, and the deep satisfaction of having built something beautiful together. Love had triumphed, not because it was easy, but because they had decided it was worth fighting for, and they would continue fighting for it every day. One lovingly cooked dish, one programming lesson, and one family hug at a time. Wow, what a journey. What did you think of Marcus's transformation? Did Isabella make the right choice? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved this story, please smash that like button and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more incredible tales. Your support means the world.